Hello, and welcome to Eavesdropping at the Movies. I'm Mike.
And I'm José.
And we've been away for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
You have been sunning it up.
Sunning it up, it's winter.
Yes, it's winter in the Southern Hemisphere. You've been wintering it up in Argentina.
I've been in Argentina, I've been to Buenos Aires, and I've been seeing lots of movies there, actually, so that was great. That was a great experience to see kind of what was available to see there. All the big films were the same. I really did come back with a firm opinion that cinema as a mass medium really is dead.
Okay.
You still had the big cinemas like we do here, and actually they were all showing the same thing. They were all showing Lion King, and Toy Story 4, and those big mall cinemas in Buenos Aires. They had like children's toys and rides, and all based on Toy Story 4, Lion King, actually. So
in the cinemas,
so the distributors must provide them for the cinemas there. So there was this combination of really fantastic art cinema and a great choice of art cinema in Buenos Aires, actually. And I saw a lot of that. I saw the new Almodovar film, the new Jajanque, the new Ceylon film. All those were available to see. But, so you have like these really great films that are being seen by like an audience of 30 each night, anyway, when I went. And then I didn't go see Toy Story 4 there, but I imagine those were pretty crowded. But really the big thing was Netflix. So, before you'd walk around the city center and you see the advertisements for the new Julia Roberts film or, the new Tom Cruise film or something. Now all those gigantic 5-story boards, advertising boards, are all about, La Casa de Papel in Buenos Aires, right? The new big Netflix series, right, are the ones that are getting those like 6-story billboards. So that was very interesting for me, really. Yeah. I think, kind of the Netflix is what people are seeing globally and what they're discussing globally. Obviously, the Marvel films are like that. In fact, the person who just served us popcorn had, a fantastic tattoo of the Flash on one side of his arm, and Batman on the other that really could have been, a comic book panel.
Straight up, yeah.
Yeah, in all those colors, right? The exact colors. I don't know how they achieved that. So, but anyway, those are things kind of we're thinking about, right? What are the movies today? And, is it all Toy Story 4s and Lion Kings and Marvel? And are the people who are going to see the Jajanque and so on just like a tiny minority of people, really? So, is it kind of something equivalent? You know how, like, in the 80s, you used to have, like, this distinction. I mean, people were still reading lots of books, but you'd have this distinction between the top 10 books, right? The what's Joan Collins' sister? Anyway, the kinds of books that she would write, Hollywood Husbands and Hollywood Wives and, or the thrillers, the Ludlum thrillers or whatever. And then you'd have like the literary novel, right? The Philip Roth and, people like that. So is cinema becoming kind of like that now?
Jackie Collins,
yes.
Of course, yeah.
So anyway, just idle thoughts really that kind of, I went to...
Well, I've done none of that while you've been away. I've just been watching adaptations of John Grisham novels and Jodie Foster films.
Well, that's great. And what views have you come?
Sorry?
What's your conclusion?
My conclusion is that some John Grisham films are better than others, and some Jodie Foster films are better than others.
But let me push you on that, because actually I think the John Grisham films, taken as a whole, are really very good. They're, some are better than others, but they're a very high level.
Yeah, I generally agree. I think the reason I was interested in watching them is because I've realised recently sort of how much I enjoy legal dramas, and especially courtroom dramas. And also he's the sort of, he's got a huge string of them, and he was a lawyer, I think, and that's where
I don't know anything about him.
I think that's kind of why that's his writing. And I hadn't seen, so I watched The Rainmaker, I watched The Firm.
I think The Rainmaker is great. I think The Firm is great.
And I watched the
Matthew McConaughey one.
other one about racism. I forget, what's it called?
I'm terrible at titles.
I've already forgotten.
There's a courtroom drama with Matthew McConaughey and Sandra Bullock, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
And Samuel L. Jackson.
Uh-huh.
Which, and so...
and there's another one called The Juror.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, which I think is also very interesting.
Um,
It's about playing the jury.
I think the one I enjoyed the most
with
was...
John Cusack, sorry.
No. I think the one I enjoyed the most was The Rainmaker, because it kind of portrayed the way people live their lives in a quite engrossing way, and the way that you the kind of problems of actually running a law firm. This guy sets up. It's Matt Damon and
Danny DeVito,
and they set up this law firm, and then all of a sudden, like the problems are, we need cash flow, we need this and the other, we need jobs coming in. Danny DeVito's really great as this kind of hustling character.
Yes.
But then also it focuses on these 3 cases that Matt Damon is doing, where one of them is about this woman who's been beaten by her husband, and she's also kind of a love interest. The one about the mother who wants her will sorted out and her kids are kind of, once they discover there might be some money involved, all of a sudden they change their attitude, sort of thing. And then the main one is this thing about this kid who's dying because of a health insurance company that denied him the healthcare that they should have given. And the way in which it portrays people struggling and having very realistic struggles in life. These are all realistic things to be coping with, and it kind of puts them in the centre. But the one sort of central problem of it is that Matt Damon's character is beyond perfect. Apart from the fact he's kind of a rube because he's young and he's only kind of new as a lawyer, so he doesn't really know how the courtroom works. He's clever and he believes all the right things and his heart's in the right place and everything he does is just perfect. And that's kind of annoying. You know, I mean, because I kind of looked at reviews when I watched it, and I didn't see anyone sort of picking up on that. Whereas you look at like Rey in the new Star Wars films, everyone's like, "Oh, what a Mary Sue! Oh, she can just fix a spaceship, can she?" You know, I think someone needed to pick up on that.
That didn't bother me. Actually, you feel almost like kind of the opposite, because I think that casting with Matt Damon, which was before he became a real star.
Yeah.
Right. So actually, in a way, it was daring casting, because you were casting somebody who had gotten a bit of a name, but who wasn't a box office star as the central character. So, and the thing about Matt Damon always is that he does look like an every guy. He's not super handsome, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I suppose in movie star terms, that's his failure and his strength. Yeah, he's an everyman.
Ordinary.
Yeah, that, you know. I mean, he's not Matthew McConaughey solving a case, isn't he?
True.
Right, so, you know, kind of, so you're meant to think that he is ordinary, not perfect.
Yeah, but then everything else that he does is perfect.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, I think it's a failing in the film. I think it's kind of, the lawyer is perfect, look at him go, and he wins the case.
It's a while since I've seen it, but
yeah.
I'm not sure I agree. I think, you know, in my memory, and certainly in any narrative view, he must have been given some weakness.
But he really wasn't. I think the only real weakness is that he takes his time to learn how the courtroom works. You know, judge keeps having to tell him, no, you don't do this, you do this, and the other lawyers are laughing at him, but he's the plucky underdog all the way through, you know. But I mean, I'm making more of that than it is, though. It is a really good movie. It's the best one that I watched. The Firm is nonsense.
Is that Coppola?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
The Firm is nonsense trash.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad, but it's trash.
Well.
And the other one was interesting. Yeah. But I don't remember that one.
A Time to Kill or A View to Kill?
That's it, Time to Kill.
That's the other one. Yeah.
I don't remember it well enough to remember what I thought about it. I liked it, but
I would really recommend you see The Juror, because that's about controlling juries, and it's with John Cusack.
Right.
Kind of, you know, blackmailing someone through jury control. It's very good. It's kind of, you know, it changes your expectations kind of all the way through. I think those are all quite good movies, really. Anyway.
Yes, anyway, so that's what we've been up to.
Yes.
But today, on a great reunion,
we saw Toy Story 4.
We saw Toy Story 4, which, as you said, you haven't seen. I saw while you were away. I went to see it with Matt. more satisfying the second time. What did you... And I liked it the first time. What did you make of it?
Well, I mean, I think it's hugely enjoyable. The animation is very good. I slept through the first 10 minutes, or I dozed off.
I agree.
You know, but you know what struck me this time is how, because you know, in a way, I didn't get Pixar, right? Kind of. I always figured if you want to make this film, why don't you make it live action, right? Because you know, it's a decision to make this kind of animated, because you could easily make this film live action, I think.
What, toys?
Yeah.
How so? You mean like puppets or stop motion?
Yeah, with puppetry and things like that. So, you know, but anyway.
I can tell you why they chose toys right at the start back in Toy Story 1 was because they were developing computer animation to the point where they thought they could make a movie out of it. They couldn't render anything that realistically, and plastic was about the most realistic thing that would look good.
Yes.
You know, you couldn't do skin, you couldn't do kind of fabrics all that well.
Okay, now you can.
Of course, now you can, but they're not going to change. Okay, it used to be Toy Story. They've done lots of other movies, but Toy Story is still about toys.
Yeah. Well, I'm not quibbling. I mean, I thought some of the moments of subtle expression in this film were really great.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it can be real subtle now. Almost kind of uncannily human-like subtle. Yeah, like there's little, you know, the little Bo Beep does things with her face, yeah, just like a little grimace, yeah, that's very subtle and very easily communicated. So I enjoyed all of it. It moves very well. I love the Captain Canuck thing with Keanu Reeves.
Oh yeah,
you know, I thought that was marvelous.
The Evel Knievel, but from Canada type.
Yeah. So I suppose. I mean, my greatest pleasure in watching the film was watching you respond to everything. I mean, you loved it all. You were laughing at everything. Yeah. You know, all the jokes worked on you. I mean, it was marvelous to see.
I really loved it. All those jokes just as much the second time, and I was laughing like a drain the first time.
Yeah, I suppose I have issues with it. Really, kind of. As a concept, I mean, I haven't worked, so I'm thinking out loud, I haven't worked any of this out, you know, but I think there's kind of like a slavish mentality to the whole concept, right? Like, you know, these are basically things that people own, and, you know, the things that people own that are really people, you know, feel like this blind loyalty to their owners. It has kind of like a slave thing running through it. Yeah, the kind of.
I can see what you're going for, but I don't agree. I think it's a bit of a stretch.
Listen, I'm saying I haven't worked it out.
Yeah.
But you know, you're watching it, and I'm thinking it, right? So you know, it might be wrong, it might not be there, but these are the thoughts that were going through my mind, right? That kind of, you know, so these whole concepts of duty and loyalty, really to owners. It's something that I thought plantation owners would have loved this shit, right? Like, you know. so you know, kind of not to piss on your parade.
No.
But it makes me uncomfortable.
Well, I think that's it's an interesting way of looking at it. I think it's more of a kind of, it's like a partnership thing. Not, you know, they don't talk about their owners. They talk about their kids.
Yes.
You know, the ones that they're there to look after. And in Toy Story 3...
I know, like Mammy.
No. In Toy Story 3, you know, it was this thing about that film. That film wasn't so much for the kids as it was for the parents. The ending of that film is all about the kind of emotional wrench of giving your kid away. Your kid grows up and they're going to move out, no longer be with you, and that's what the toys have to go through. As Andy grows up and they get given to Bonnie, which, I mean, I think that is the most emotional ending of all the films, and I think this is probably overall the weakest film. The first time it felt kind of episodic in a way. It felt like fan fiction almost, like the other three films were a continuance of a strong story, and this one felt like a what if sort of thing. The second time I watched it just now, it felt more fulfilling in that respect, and I liked it a lot more. And I don't remember the first time how emotional, because there were kind of two emotional endings. There's the one with the Gabby Gabby toy,
Yeah.
as she kind of fulfills her sort of, gets what she wants and goes off with the kid. And the other one is Woody leaving and kind of finding his place. I don't remember how either of those endings worked on me the first time, but this time they both got me. Really, really. And I love them. I think actually some of the direction doesn't seem to me all that strong, but...
Which aspects?
You know what? Maybe I'm being unfair on him. I think actually it's a story issue, because you look at the credits and there's about 15 people credited as having a part in the story. And I think it shows because there are some incredibly complex kind of plot machinations. The plot moves around and the characters go here, then they go there, then they need this, then they need that, and they're back here and over there and in the shop. And it jumps around the plot. There's a lot of and then this happens, then this happens, then this happens. And I think it doesn't quite cohere in that respect. So I'm actually being unfair to the director, but definitely the opening 10-15 minutes, as you say, are a snooze. It takes a long time to get going. It's where Forky shows up, and then things kind of liven up for a bit, and then they drop down again. And then it's when Bo Peep, I think, re-enters the story that it really livened up. And the Bo Peep thing was interesting to me because both times I saw it, right at the start, I didn't buy the relationship between Woody and Bo Peep that the film kind of hinges on. It hinges on their emotional relationship, and throughout the other films, it's been like, oh, there's Woody and Bo Peep, and you kind of think, I guess they're a sort of couple thing, but they're friends. And it's never been a thing really. So I think the film opening on that is asking you to buy a bit more from what the other films have had than there actually is. But then as the film goes on and their relationship in this film develops, by the end, I'm really with it and believing it, which is why the ending worked on me.
I think, to me, the most interesting thing about the film that isn't quite successful is the way that they've tried to make it more girl-powery, right? So, the child this time is a girl, right? And you have, at the beginning, kind of, the whole thing with choosing to play with a cowgirl rather than with Woody, right? And, the changing of the badge of sheriff, right? Which then becomes a thing at the end, right? So I think, they've tried to make the film more feminist, for a lack of a better word, right? To kind of, put more of an emphasis on female characters, yeah? Female toys.
Certainly with Bo Peep. I'm not sure I agree entirely with Bonnie choosing to play with Jessie at the start. That's more to me about Woody being discarded and feeling like he's no longer got his place.
But the reason why Woody is being discarded is because before he had a boy master, and now there's a little girl mistress who's choosing the toys, and it makes sense that she's choosing a girl toy over a boy toy. I mean, I think those things are related. Yeah, and this thing about the badge, that she takes the badge away from Woody and puts it on Jessie, I think kind of anyway, I think that's a running thread throughout, this one that I haven't seen before, right? So there's that, there's the Bo Peep who's given all this action and smarts and, and so on.
Yeah.
For quite a lot of the film. And then there's the thing with the... Gabby, right? Those are quite important elements in a film that are kind of female-orientated that I don't remember from the previous Toy Story films.
No, the others are much more male.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're very successfully kind of integrated. Yeah. It always reverts back to the boys. Though, one of the things that surprised me is what a relatively small part Buzz had this time around.
The other toys that you remember from the previous films, apart from Woody, they have much, much smaller parts to play here.
Yes.
It's about the new toy. It's about Bo Peep coming back, because Bo Peep is there. But it's about this Gabby and her kind of trauma and her villainness. I mean, obviously, you can look at it as sort of saying, I think it works really well. I think Bo Peep particularly works really well. No one's worried about how it would work.
I love Bo Peep
because I think
she's my favorite character in the film.
When the advertising sort of came out at long last, everyone was spending a long time anticipating Toy Story 4, and then it was Bo Peep on the post, and people were like, Bo fucking Peep, like, she was nothing. Because she was nothing in the other film. She wasn't that important.
Yeah.
And in this film, they turn her into this. She's been a lost toy for a long time. For like 7 years, she's been on her own, kind of surviving on the streets, sort of thing, and she's become a kind of action hero. And I can totally see how, if you were being very uncharitable, which I'm not saying you are, if one were being uncharitable, they would look at that and go, well, of course they're doing like a girl power thing. But I think it actually works very, very well, and they've really made something out of her character. I love her little friend as well, the tiny little police officer who sits on her shoulder, who's a girl as well. Yeah. And they are kind of girlfriends.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, not in a lesbian way, I mean like friends who are girls, like your best mate. Yeah. And they talk about that cowboy. Oh, is that cowboy? Oh, you told me about him.
I love all of that about the film. You know, I just don't think it's integrated. So if they wanted to make like a kind of feminist Toy Story, you know, then they wouldn't have had all the major decisions revert back to the men, really. So, which is not to say that I don't love the individual instances of that, or the attempts to, you know. I mean, I loved all the sections with Bo Peep, you know, and I loved Gabby. You know, she does look like something out of a horror film, you know, but it kind of ended up being like working quite well. So all those things I like. I mean, I think, you know, the only thing that I'm troubled with is really like the ideology of the film. I'm not sure how to describe it. So, for example, you know, aside from the things that I already said about being owned and, you know, this false sense of loyalty, you know, the film kind of promotes, right? So obviously loyalty is a quality. It's not a quality in every instance, and it's not a quality, you know, in this sense. I mean, it comes across as a kind of servility to me to, you know, to be loyal to people who kind of own you and then discard you because that is your lot in life. And actually, the thing at the end, which is meant to be this very romantic thing, and actually I was wondering if some of the imagery wasn't already from The Place Beyond the Pines, you know, that kind of romantic Ferris wheel, yeah, where they play the love element in front of it, yeah. Bo Peep and Woody. You know, I wondered about the influence of The Place Beyond the Pines on that image. But anyway, this thing that, you know, it's okay to be discarded, you know, after having given a lifetime of love and work and care and thought, you know, it's almost like very Trumpist. It's like, you know, so, I mean, these are, yes, that's what I'm thinking.
Discarded?
Yes, kind of. Yes, Woody's discarded. He's sacrificed himself. He's given up his voice box to someone else. You know, and all of a sudden he's like homeless.
He makes two choices. They're both his choices.
I know.
He's slightly forced into the one, to be fair. He's backed into a corner. But the one at the end, it's his choice. You know, if you're talking about you know, being owned, his choice at the end is then not to be owned.
Well, I know. The thing is that there's no place for him in that home anymore. You know, he's unloved there. And according to, I mean, what the film tells you is that he's not needed there, which I'm sure is what factories tell workers. You're not needed. Right? Like, run along with this with me, okay? You know, because I think it is there in the, I mean, it is there on some level. It's not consistent. I'm not saying the film is trying to communicate these ideas, right? You know, but I think kind of, yeah, there's elements of kind of common thought in America that kind of are being seen in this film in various ways, you know, and one of them to me is, you know, that something is used and used up, you know, and discarded, and that's okay, and that people should be happy with that. So,
but that thing has value, and it realizes its own value, and Woody realizes his own value. He realizes, you know, he's been loyal all this time. He's been loyal to his kids. The most important thing has been his kids. I mean, they go so far as to put words in Bo Peep's mouth to this effect in the film. He always looks out for his kid. That's the first thing he ever does.
Yes.
And that's his quality. And then at the point is at the end, he realizes he is no longer needed by his kid. His kid has something else. His kid values this Forky more, and he can look out for himself now. Actually, he's doing himself a disservice.
He's always been able to look out for himself. I mean, that's at the basis of all of the adventures. I mean, this is a film in which basically, you know, two homeless people at the end find each other, but actually they are now on the road. They are homeless, right?
Right.
So, you know.
And?
Well, it's a significant thing that, you know, you have, you know, two people rendered homeless, you know, and the film is trying to tell you, well, they love each other and they found each other and that's a good thing. And it's better to be homeless, you know, and have love, you know, and be with this person, you know, than to be unwanted in a home.
What are you talking about? It doesn't.
Can you not see this at all? I mean,
I can't see where you're getting homelessness from. It's not about being
because
homeless.
he's homeless.
Like, I know he literally doesn't have a home to stay.
Oh, come on.
No,
Mike,
I think you.
All the characters spend, you know, all of the film trying to find an owner, right? Because trying to find an owner is finding a home, right? And they call themselves homeless. You know, been on the shell for 8 years, right? This, yeah.
It's about relationships. It's not about being owned. Their whole thing is
I'm sure that's what all the slave owners thought. It's about relationships.
I think it's ridiculous. I think homeless.
I love my man.
I think homeless is a ridiculous way of putting it.
Well, but it's
because it's not how anyone thinks about it.
They're homeless.
Yeah,
they're
far happier. You know,
well,
if they're slaves, they're now liberators.
We don't know that.
Oh, for Christ's sake! What do you mean we don't know that?
Well, we don't know that.
Well, you're making it up.
They're beginning their adventure on the road, which will be harsh and cruel.
Yeah, and what does Bo Peep say? She says, "I've been lost for 7 years, and I've never been happier."
She does say that.
She says that right at the start, and you see how happy she's activated her own life, and she's become a brand new person, and she's
homeless.
So what though? You're saying homelessness as if like you're equating it to, and this is going to be the worst thing in the world for them. I mean, the film starts off with Bo Peep has not been happier.
You know, but don't you think that's an interesting thing in the film?
I do think it's interesting, but I don't know why. I don't know where you're getting the negativity from.
Well, don't you think don't you think that a film that tells you, you know, isn't it fantastic to be homeless, that is in itself a problem?
I don't think it's talking about homelessness. Like, that's not the interesting part about what it's talking about. That's not the important part about where they are in their lives. That's a function of them giving up their places.
Just because they put a little glitter ball.
It's not about glitter. It's about missing.
Feel good about it.
It's not about glitter. It's about missing the point. The film isn't going, and now they don't live in a home anymore, and that's the important thing. It's about them looking out for themselves instead of thinking about looking out for kids. If you want to carry on your thing about slavery, about how they're slaves, you should love that. They have given up their slavery. They have become liberated.
They've been discarded and used up by capitalism.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and the film is trying to kind of put a good front on that, how wonderful it is to be unemployed, homeless.
Okay.
I can see I'm making you mad.
Well, I'm just winding me up. That's silly.
Well, I'm not deliberately winding you up.
I think you are.
A little bit. But
I think it's silly.
I think these things are in the film. And I told you, I haven't kind of worked them out properly, but I think they are there. And actually, it's the kind of thing that I find slightly disturbing about the film. You know, kind of, what is it trying to tell you? What do you think is like the overall message of the film? You know, that you need to find your owner?
Well, not here it isn't. Not here it isn't.
Well, Gabby's all about finding...
Gabby is, but she finds it different. I mean, she's the one who... She doesn't get the one she wants, but she realises she can have a place somewhere else. But that's certainly not Woody's story.
Well, Woody's story in this film is that he begins the film by already kind of, you know, being kind of unwanted, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, his kid has grown up. There's a girl now. He's got no useful role, and you know, so he gives himself one that isn't asked for. You know, so he makes her first day in kindergarten kind of better than it would have been without him. But she doesn't notice. She doesn't care. You know, so the film is about a man who's got no role in society and ends up used up, giving his voice box and ending up on the street. And the film tells us that that's okay because he finds love. No, it doesn't. Okay, give me your version. I don't think the film goes, that's okay because he finds love. Mm. He makes his own life better. He realizes his own value to himself, I think, is what happens. Mm. I think that's what it is at the end. Mm. Yeah, I am so destroying your pleasure in this film.
No, you're not at all, because I just don't agree with you.
I'm making you so angry. I can see it in your face. I'm not saying, that that's
I'm
exactly
saying
the
that
way.
if you want to be all fucking Richard Brody about it and go, well, I listen to jazz and have smart things to say.
No, I don't want to go that route, but I think these things are there in the film. So, and I have to think about them some more, right? So, on the one hand, there are the things that I really loved about the film. I actually loved the way the film moved.
Yeah.
Right? I love the way that it used those, what were those puppets that were like horror movie guys?
Oh, yeah, they're these sort of old 50s smart guy dolls.
Yeah.
Smart, dressed smartly, weird looking old things.
Actually, they looked like Edgar Bergen and whatever his Muppet was, that he did ventriloquism on.
That's right, they're like ventriloquist dummies.
Yeah, so they looked a bit like that, and they were very creepy and weird and fun to watch. Yeah, Gabby Gabby was also weird and creepy and fun to watch. I think the film looked fantastic. I think it looked very well. I think some of the jokes really worked. Some of the verbal humor was fantastic. So I think kind of, yeah.
She's a more interesting villain, Gabby Gabby, than they've had before in Toy Story.
Yes, because she's not really a villain.
So in Toy Story 1, 2 and 3, the villains were proper villains and they got beaten, discarded, thrown away, wherever it was. Like Sid got beaten, Stinky Pete in the second one got sent to live with a girl who dressed him up like Barbie. The third one was that lots of hugs bear, I think it was called Lotso, and he got dumped somewhere. So they all just get beaten. And in this one, you kind of think that might be where Gabby Gabby ends up, but Woody, you can look at this two ways, I suppose. But there's one way of looking at it, which is that Woody sacrifices his own voice box because that's what she wants. Hers is defective. Hers has been defective since factory.
So she can get someone to love.
And she thinks if this voice box becomes mine, then the girl will love me. And it turns out actually the girl discards her immediately. She doesn't care. And so Gabby Gabby becomes a sort of pity case. So despite the fact she's been terrorising the characters the whole time, she turns out to be someone who may be deserving of help. And she gets this happy ending. I think it's an unequivocally happy ending for her. She gets to sell herself back into slavery. At last, she's been an unwanted slave all this time, and she finally finds a girl.
Yes.
To whip
They've
her.
been looking at her teeth, found her deficient.
Oh,
but now she's got her voice box.
she finds a girl in the carnival who she thinks, this girl might want me, and as it happens, she does. So she gets her ending, and it's a more interesting thing that they did with this villain, quote unquote, than the rest, because she's understood.
Yes, she won't get anywhere. She won't get anywhere by just sitting on the shelf.
I think it's slightly more interesting, and I like that, and I think it leads to the most emotional part of the film. I love that.
What was the most emotional part of the film?
It's when the kid picks her up. Yeah, exactly. I didn't expect that at all, and I like that. I love Forky. I mean, Forky's the kind of character that I would write. When he thinks he's trash at the start and he doesn't understand anything else, and he just keeps saying trash and trying to climb into the bin. I'm really into any cartoon character that is just really, really dumb.
You don't find the ending filthy though.
Filthy?
Yes.
What? Which?
When Mrs. Forky.
Oh. What's filthy about it?
Well, his smile keeps growing and growing and growing.
Okay.
Well, it's clearly an erection.
Right. No, I didn't notice his mouth. I'll have to have another.
You laughed each time it grew.
Well, I wasn't responding to those grows. I was just laughing at the scene.
Oh.
Where because it's like fucking Casablanca.
Right.
No, I'm really into cartoon characters that are dumb. There's nothing funnier to me than Homer Simpson looking blank and with his lips sort of pursed and just looking into the distance. Like he has no fucking idea what's going on. That's the funniest image in the world to me. And there's a lot of that going on with Forky. There's also that fantastic shot where the toys are sabotaging the RV to keep it.
That's wonderful.
To keep it at the carnival. And again, I love characters. I love when the toys are just fucking with people. That's great. And there's a shot that combines those two things, which is where Mrs. Potato Head is plugging and unplugging the electrics and making it stop and start. Yes. And she's just like, she looks so dumb and blank, like she doesn't even know what she's doing.
Yes.
While she's, and it's just, that shot, the first time I saw it, I was laughing for 2-3 minutes after that happened. Like other stuff had happened, I was still laughing at that bit. It's fucking great.
Yes. Well, you clearly loved it again today.
It's got a lot of good jokes, but I do think it's probably the worst Toy Story film.
Why do you think that?
I don't know. I think it is the least substantial, probably. It made me laugh. The second film made me laugh the most. The third film made me feel the most. It might be better than the first one, but it does feel like it's the most that is.
Let me tell you what I think the problem is. The problem is that all of the other films were about the bond between these two boys and the child, right?
Yeah.
And in this one, there's no bond between the toys and the child. The child is oblivious to the toy protagonist.
Yeah.
And I think that's a vacuum there in the middle of this film.
Yeah.
That might have been resolved, had the child developed a relationship with Jesse, or had the child the child developed a relationship with Gabby previously, or had there been a way of bringing back Bo Beep into the house, right? I mean, there's clearly, changing the gender of the child makes a huge difference. And that's not worked through, right? So I think the whole theme of, the discarding of Woody, I think, that's a really interesting thing. But because there isn't a bond between, a toy and this child, which is now a different gender, there's a kind of a vacuum, an emotional vacuum, I think, for me in the film.
You have a point. Yeah. And
there's a lack of courage on the part of the filmmakers, because I think the normal thing really would have been, to create a great female toy to go with this new great, child. But, they obviously couldn't let go of the protagonist. So, which they wouldn't have needed to let him go, but just proportionally give him a different place, like they did with Buzz.
Yeah, well, that's I was going to say. Just like that would be a recapitulation of the first film, where the new toy comes in and ousts Woody.
Yes.
I think it's interesting. The thing about her inventing her own toy.
Yes.
Is a novel thing, and I think it works, and because Woody's still. Like the thing that's interesting about Woody's character is all the films, even from the first one, he's kind of been a dick, because he's always been so sure of himself and sure of his place, and he's the leader, and that's just the way it goes. I'm the leader, and that's obviously what the first one is about, disturbing. But even from then on, it's just been we all just listen to Woody, and
there was this thing
him trying to assert that here. And it not being like it's completely in question. No one listens to him.
Yes.
From the start, it's interesting.
Well, I think what's interesting is and this is part of the problem, because the film makes attempts to deal with that. So, for example, the new leader is that girl toy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he always upstages her. He mansplains her away,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
So the film is making these attempts at kind of putting feminist elements into it that don't quite cohere, even in that way, right? So, and I think that does come from a kind of a fear of letting go of Woody, even though the whole film is about letting go of Woody. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
There's one other thing which occurred to me the first time I watched it, and it remains a niggle for me this time, which is the Key and Peele characters. The two fluffy ones.
Yes.
They have a kind of lot of attitude and.
Yes, I like them.
I like them, but they reminded me in a really, really negative way of those two robots in one of the Transformers films. There were these two robots that were kind of basically black stereotypes.
Yes, well, these are black stereotypes,
and it kind of really points out a kind of whiteness in the whole. Yes. Affair and
I think that influenced my whole plantation massa kind of thing. That also plays a role in it.
Yeah, may have done. Yeah, that it really occurred to me the first time, and it's like, although it doesn't make them sort of any less charming or funny, because they are, it's stuck with me the whole time.
They're charming and they're funny, but it's black people to laugh at once again.
Yeah, and
in a peripheral role,
and conspicuous by their blackness. Like, that's why they're there.
Yes.
You know, they're not just. I mean, because then you sort of then notice of the human characters, because there are lots now. There's a whole carnival full of them. You know, how many aren't white?
Yes.
Of the who get any kind of screen time of note.
Yes.
And there's the girl who picks up Gabby right at the end.
Yes.
Isn't white.
Yes.
And there's like one girl, and I think her mum you see for a split second in the classroom right at the beginning on orientation day for Bonnie at school. You see for half a second. And you know, who isn't white. And everyone else, and the families is kind of, you know, white, brown haired, sort of just the standard version of everything family that we can all be comfortable with because they're white and safe. And you know, it wouldn't necessarily be so bad. It would be boring and lazy and all the rest of it. But it wouldn't be so bad in a way if they didn't have these token comedy black characters being black for our comedy pleasure.
Yes.
You know, in that way.
Well, I mean, I think several interesting things there. You know, that, you know, so what is blackness? Because in a way, like, you know, visually, there's nothing about these toys, right? So actually, it's all coming from the language and the way of speaking.
Yeah.
Right? That's the way that the blackness is connoted. And I do think that the bringing in of, you know, the mixed-race child with her mixed-race parents at the end, you know, might be a way of, like, it's a tokenistic gesture, I think, actually. I mean, in a way, welcome, yeah, but also tokenistic. It gets given very little space. And there is something, I think, unappealing or discomforting about those what are their names again?
Key and Peele.
Yeah.
The comedians.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, kind of, you know, which are such a marker of, you know, a certain type of American blackness, really, of black culture that's coming through those voices, and that is being used entirely for humor. And that they're made to seem dumb also, right? It is like a kind of, you know, an old-fashioned stereotype of American cinema, right? You know, the kind of the dumb kind of, you know, black comedian used entirely for comedic purposes, in which actually kind of, you know, being dumb and ineffectual and so on is part of what you're laughing at. There's something in that about those characters. And I think, you know, that bringing in, you know, the black girl for Gabby, or the mixed race child for Gabby, and the black parents at the end is a way of.
There's something weird in there. There's something weird going on in there as well because Gabby, the design of her and the look of her. I mean, surprising in a way that a toy like her hasn't featured in Toy Story 4. She's such a classic sort of doll design.
Yes.
That like it really speaks of a 1950s.
It does.
Sort of Americana whiteness.
Yeah, whiteness. Yeah, it does. But
even that's right. Go on.
Yeah, and that's interesting, right? So, you know, this kind of almost archetype of whiteness, signified by this doll with the freckles and the green eyes and the perfect, slightly reddish hair. You know, then finding, you know, an owner in, you know, the mixed race child. Something interesting about that. And I do think that all of these things have been thought through, you know. Like, yeah, I don't.
Well,
think
even if not thought through, deserving of thought and explanation and all the rest. Yeah, I think the interesting thing about Key and Peele, to go back to them briefly, is their kind of quote unquote black persona is a very ironic one. I think because they did a film called Keanu, I think.
Okay,
I'm sure it was basically a parody of John Wick, or it started off as a parody of John Wick, because John Wick is about the guy loses his dog and he goes and kills everyone. And in this one they have a kitten called Keanu, and then that gets nicked by like some gangsters, and then they end up getting sort of pulled into a world they're not used to. But as I recall it, I did see the film. I don't remember that much about it. But as I recall it, it's like the world that they get sort of pulled into is a very stereotypically gangster black world, and the joke is that it's a world that, although they sort of look like they should understand. They look like they should be part of it from their skin tone. They don't at all, and actually they are really, really not used to it. And they're these kind of they are how kind of white people out of water. It's there's a thing going on like that is the joke of their persona in that film, and there's an element of that in their sketch show as well. Where they're kind of, I remember one sketch in particular. They come out of a scary movie, I've seen some horror movie, and they're acting all macho about how they didn't get scared and everything was cool, but they are terrified actually walking back to their car. So like the incongruity of the way they speak and the way they behave. But theirs is a kind of ironic sort of shifting persona, and I think that's part of that kind of feeds into their characters in this somehow.
Yes.
Like I think it would be different if it were like Chris Rock and Kevin Hart or someone who don't play on an irony in that way. But they do.
Yes, I don't know. I mean, and again, they're very funny. It works very well in the film. There's just something slightly uncomfortable about it for me.
Yeah, I think the irony is sort of intended to make it kind of safe. In a way, like knowing. But I don't think it works, and I think it makes it more uncomfortable in a way.
I think it's very tokenistic. I think for me it ends up being very tokenistic, as does, the representation of that child and the parents that get like 1 minute of screen time. So, they're kind of, in many ways the film is great fun. It's trying to do very interesting things. I think the attempt to make it more feminist or more girl inclusive at least is very deliberate, and it's evident in the film throughout. I also just don't think it's very successful. I don't think it's very well integrated. I think kind of there are real ideological problems that that come through and that maybe the film isn't itself very aware of. So it's a film of moments. Yeah. Well, for me, it's more like it's like a coherent film that's really funny with loads actually going on sort of underneath the surface that makes it less comfortable to watch and enjoy so much. Okay. Well, I don't know, because you loved every minute of it. It was actually my pleasure.
In the moment, it is just fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's worth saying.
Yeah. And I'm beautiful as well. I mean, that's one of the reasons I was happy to go back and see it again, because it's beautiful to look at.
It is.
The opening scene is just showing off how well they can do rain and shallow focus. And it looks beautiful. Yeah, no, that was amazing. I love the whole scenes in the antique shop as well. I mean, that dust in the air. The dust, it was wonderful. So anyway, I'm very glad I saw it. Yeah, I'm glad I saw it twice. It is more satisfying the second time. It feels more of a piece. It feels more holistic. Yes. It feels more valuable. So that's good. That's kind of always a sign. If the film improves on the second viewing, it's likely that it might even improve on a third. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Yes, we're Eavesdropping at the Movies. We're on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube to listen to. On social media, we're on Facebook and Twitter at Eavesdrop Movies. And the website is eavesdroppingatthemovies.com. Thank you very much. Cheerio.